sunshines, welcome back to another video. I'm back in BLOXBURG again, but this time I'm going to be giving you guys like tips and tricks on how to get better on building, whether you just joined or you just want to learn like a few things to get a bit better. But yeah, I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so my first tip is when you're building a house or just rooms, either one, try not to make them like really big, because I feel like when I first started, that's what I did when I built my first house, but it fills up your plot really quick, but also it's just a lot harder to decorate every single spot in the room. And to me, like when a room's not fully decorated, it just feels like almost unfinished or like just too empty. So it should be easily fixed by just simply making it smaller. If you want to make it bigger, then you can, but just don't make it like this big. Like let's say this is a living room, that's way too excessive. So this would easily work. Okay, so my next tip kind of goes along with this. Don't make your houses just like square. It gives it a lot more realism if you just simply like add little indents into it like I did here. It just makes it look a lot better, and like you could put like a little overhang and a portrait here. But here, you just can't really do that. It'd be a lot harder because you have to do like out or whatever. But yeah, that's about it for this tip. Just remember to don't make squares. My next tip is for roofs. I really recommend using the gable roof. Now, in some sections, you can use slanted roof or flat roof. It just depends on the style. But I mean, like a lot of these roofs, they just don't look that good. Here, I'll do an example like this roof. It depends what style you're doing. But for most houses, if you're doing realistic or like aesthetic, whatever, that roof just doesn't fit. But if you use the gable roof, it just looks a lot better and it looks more realistic, because I feel like in neighborhoods, you see this roof a lot more than that roof. Also, for flat or slanted roofs, I like to use them when you add porches, little roofs on your porch. Here's just a simple example on how even like the slightest bit of indents can just make your house look so much better than when it's just a square, because you can add little porches or whatever. Okay, so another thing that I'm sure a lot of us did when we first started building this BLOXBURG is, maybe it's just me, but I know back then I used to use like all these like neon colors, and it just don't really like fit in with the builds. So it's just a lot better if you use white, or for woods, I like to use linen, hurricane gray, and pine cone. If you want to use colors, I really recommend using pastels. Like this blue's really good, but just not blues that like look like that. I feel like it's just too bright and it doesn't really fit in. So another tip is, rather than just deleting stuff, whereas I got $38, I think it's better to undo, because you get the full price back. The shutters were $40, and when I deleted it, I only got $38, so I lost $2. But when you undo stuff, then it gives you the full profit back. That's just a little recommendation to save money. Also, some textures I really recommend, like for the outside of your houses, is definitely brick, rough stone bricks, stone lines, vertical planks, wood grain, and then any other kind of wooden textures that you like. But I definitely don't recommend using, like there's certain textures, granite, that does not look good, or like, we love elephants, but just not on our walls. You know, just simple things, especially not this texture. Something else that goes along with textures is, don't make everything just the plastic textures, because it looks a lot better when you add detail. Okay, so let's say I wanted gray walls. We can say I wanted this color. It looks okay, but then if you add some texture into it, it can look a lot better really easily. And one last recommendation I have, instead of just Instead of just leaving your houses looking like this, I really recommend adding like different types of wall trims. One thing that I always do is I use this wall trim, and then I will kind of match it with the wall next to it. In this case, it doesn't look the best, but for like different types of textures, especially like this texture, the rough stone bricks, they look really good. And then also, don't forget to add the top wall trims. You don't see them that well, but they still add quite a bit of detail to your builds. And there you go, just by adding the slightest bit of details like shutters, wall trims, lanterns, pillars especially, they can all make your house just look so much better. Now for living rooms, or really just anywhere in particular in the house, instead of just adding the basic things always in that room, I recommend adding like other simple details around, and they overall just bring the place together. It can be paintings, carpets, tables. Especially for living rooms, I always like to add coffee tables. And voila, just like that, it already looks so much better, and the spaces just feel better, and it looks so much more detailed. Now, of course, you'd color this stuff. I didn't color any of it, but you can color that and use kind of neutral tones that go along with the outside of your house. Another thing I forgot to mention for the outside is don't just leave it blank on the outside. I recommend adding like little gardens around. I recommend putting a floor and coloring it brown with the texture of grass. Then go to fences and add this plain marking around it to separate it from the grass. And then just go to the garden category and add anything that you like that would fit in a little garden. Okay, so I hope this video helped you with like any tips you needed or just with help in general. Let me know in the comments if there's like anything else you're wondering about. I can try to help you, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!